In our younger days, we would put up a wallpaper of a leader class motorcycle in our computers, often a Yamaha R9, ensuring we worked hard and got our dream motorcycle. But today, it is no longer possible. The legendary R1 is off the shelves as we know it. The Yamaha R6 suffered the same fate. A couple of years ago, Yamaha launched the R7, which was almost an apology of a sports bike, no matter how practical, especially for our generation. After waging decades of war and going faster and making more motorcycles, have the biggest motorcycle companies given up on the purity of power, adrenaline, by making more practical and docile motorcycles? In fact, in 2009, I took a Yamaha R1 around India for 13,000 kilometers. That feels like a dream. And now, the Yamaha R9. The Yamaha R9 is also built for the road, so I decided to head out to the nearby highlands of Sydney to a place called Wiseman's Ferry. So we are here crossing the Wiseman's Ferry on this boat. It's a very short ride but beautiful. And the R9 with the R1. Wiseman was a convict who was given land here in the 1800s, and he decided to establish a ferry service across the Hawkesbury River. The ferry is free and you can hop onto it for a 5-minute ride across the waters. The place is beautiful. The ride in general involved some sweeping turns and some tight ones as well, with some urban traffic, giving me a good feel of the R9. Due to its 3-cylinder crossplane engine that produces torque substantially earlier than the screaming inline fours, it is more usable in real-world conditions like these. And if you are a good rider, you may be able to keep up with the 1000 cc's without worrying about losing your rear end due to excessive power. But then you have got a slew of electronics as well in the Yamaha R9. The adjustable KYV suspension in the rear has a low speed valve, a first in any motorcycle, that helps generate linear damping for better road handling. Electronic safety suite is also controlled by a 6-axis IMU that gives you multiple modes with traction control, slide control, lift control, and brake control. This, along with cruise control, rider Bluetooth connectivity for calls and turn-by-turn navigation, and more, add to its roadworthiness repertoire.
On a bike like the R9 with just 117 horsepower, just is the keyword here, is enough to get you in trouble. Amazing low-end torque actually makes the bike quicker to accelerate in most conditions.
The tried and tested 890cc CP3 engine makes 93 Newton meters of peak torque at 7000 RPM and 117 bhp at 10,000 RPM. Compare that with the 114 Newton meters of torque at 11,500 RPM for the Yamaha R1M. And it is clear that you have to stress a lot less on the road, but of course with a lot less horsepower too. In fact, I drew in a 1980s born 2010 Yamaha R1 rider, and here is how the conversation went.
Come, my friend, how are you?
Good, man. So,
Good to see you, Sunny.
Nick has been owning the 2010 Yamaha R1. What do you think about the R9?
If you look at the age of 2025, I always thought it will be going up in terms of technology. But if you go back to 2010 in terms of the year, I think there were some really, really nice motorcycles. I prefer the R1, especially for tall people like us. I think the R1 was perfect. It was the perfect model which came out at that time.
The new R9. See, it's a nice motorcycle. It's an amazing motorcycle.
It is.
But it will not resonate with people who have tasted blood, which is raw meat and blood, which is like the Yamaha R1. This one is a cross plane. Of course, I'm not even talking about the R1, which has been recently discontinued. It's a little bit complicated why a company would want to do this. Replacing an iconic motorcycle like the R1, which set the millions of hearts on fire.
Yeah.
It's since decades it has been doing that. It's not replacing one motorcycle, it's replacing two. The other bike which the R9 aims to replace is the Yamaha R6,
Oh, yes.
which was actually
that was another legendary bike.
raw power. It's like the bike to get made popular by, even more popular by Valentino Rossi, especially in the Yamaha racing.
Especially a track bike. I think the R6 was an awesome bike, especially on the track.
Absolutely.
It was a light machine,
Yes.
but it had that aggressive looks.
Yes.
And to include that performance, God, the performance was like just mind-boggling.
So while there's nothing wrong with the Yamaha R9, which has got, of course, the same engine as the MT-09. In fact, I rode the MT-09 automatic AMT version, last time I came here in Australia. That was fantastic. On a naked motorcycle, and everyone, was ranting that since 2013, since I think the MT-09 came, we want a fully fed version. Okay, you have a fully fed version. Now what? Did you want this compromise? Did you want Yamaha to discontinue R6 and the R1? In fact, the R9 has to fill not one shoes, two big shoes.
That's right.
R6 and the R1, and it has to sit somewhere in the middle, be both of the best of the both worlds. Is it doing that with 117 horsepower?
When you progress in the world, I guess sometimes what you have to look at it is that some of the most amazing machines that were created in the year 2010, especially when you look at the R1 and the R6.
Especially the underseat
Oh,
exhaust.
100%. I think just look at the tires. Even if you look at the tires at the back, it's like, it just looks like a beast.
This bike, when I see, if you want me to choose between these two motorcycles, I would definitely go with this one. And there's no doubt about that. This looks just me, especially in the carbon fiber livery that Nick has got. Even he's got carbon fiber wheels now. So in fact, we are not confused. We are absolutely sure that if we were supposed to, buy a bike today, we'd definitely go for the R1. But the R1 is off the shelf, and now the only option that is left, the top of the line flagship motorcycle, is the R9, which is not even an inline 4. The summary is, overall, the R9 is a great motorcycle, and it costs $23,000. And just to give you a perspective, Yamaha T-Max, the scooter which I rode, 560 cc, that is costing 22,000 Australian dollars, and this one is 23,000.
I think if you look at the way the world is progressing, I think scooters are becoming more good-looking, and the superbikes are becoming.
He is really against the new R series, and why not? When you have such an iconic motorcycle, ultimately it's a Yamaha. Personally, feel that they should not discontinue R1. I mean, there is no replacement for power. Like they say, that there is no replacement for displacement. So we are old school guys, you may say, but new guys who have not tasted the power of the older R1s or the leader class motorcycles, they're never going to approve of the new bike. And of course, when you're on the track, I will be, I think, faster on the R9 than on this, because it's, especially this R1, because it doesn't have any electronics. It is what it is. And Yamaha thinks that they will be able to sell more bikes if the price is right. And if more people are able to handle it, that is the most important thing, and including licensing restrictions. So it makes a lot of business sense, and it obviously made a lot of business sense because the engine was already there with the MT-09. They didn't have to make a new engine, although the R9 has a completely different new chassis. It's got lateral, torsional, and longitudinal, much more stiffness than the MT-09. Every other aspect, including the way it handles, the way it looks, obviously, it is different than the MT-09.
If you look at how Yamaha is supposed to go ahead with, I think they should come up with a limited edition R1. That would be awesome. Just limited versions
not out in mass, but just limited version, just to have that experience of the cross-plane engine, the experience of Yamaha as a brand during the years of motorcycle racing.
I mean, that should remain the flagship. Yamaha,
exactly.
if you're listening, or maybe they're just testing the waters, not literally speaking, but maybe they will learn from. I don't want to call it a mistake, but this phase is like extremely excruciatingly painful for me. I don't know, if I go to the showroom and I can't find an R1, I can't find an R6. My whole childhood, my whole young, those years are gone.
Yeah, our childhood, right?
Yeah, our childhood, In 2009, I went around India on the Yamaha R1 powered by Castrol Power One. High performance engines like the R1 and now the R9 require optimal engine protection that I have been getting over the years with Castrol Power One. In fact, if you haven't tried Castrol Power One yet, you might be missing out on how much better your bike can actually perform. If you are in India, head to Amazon or Flipkart and get it delivered to your doorstep. You can also join a vibrant motorcycling community they have built along with XBHP at Castrol Biking. The Yamaha R9's high-performance CP3 engine will perform best with Castrol Power One full synthetic 10W40. And now, after the road, let's hit the track with the Yamaha R9. I joined a Sydney Motorsports Park ride day, which is a perfect way of experiencing the track without breaking the bank. They also have expert trainers for all levels, and even if you are a first timer on the track, they can teach you how to ride. Even if you don't have a motorcycle or even riding gears, they will get you sorted with rentals.
I've been riding since 2019. I'm working for the Mega Ride Days today as their first timers coach. I've been doing a little bit of racing. I'd like to do a lot more. I've done a couple of the Summer Night series as well as the 5-hour endurance race.
With my little 1989 254 NC19 to have fun riding for about 50 years now. Probably almost 1 million kilometres on the road, had 27 different motorcycles.
Rode motorcycles my whole life. Got 2 national championships in Bears Formula 1 and a series of club championships also. But yeah, I just love riding motorcycles. Had a head-on with a truck coming home late one night from work. Back, 2 broken hips, 2 broken legs, broken pelvis. Took me 2 years to get back to walking. And virtually as soon as I was walking, I was back on a motorcycle.
You can rent a BMW S1000 RR with leathers and insurance and enjoy the track with other like-minded enthusiasts. What's more, you will also get your track photos online if you want later for a small fee. That was the first time I've ridden here on a track in Sydney. I had a wonderful track day, beautiful weather. It was a little too cold for the first 2 sessions, but the third session, I tried to go fast, but I was always in the back of my mind that don't fall. This is a brand new motorcycle, so a lot of people came up to me and asked me about this. When I told them that it's a fantastic motorcycle, there is no problem. It's light, it's 195 kgs wet. It's got the electronics, it's got everything. But when I said that this is supposed to be the R1 replacement, they said that's impossible. You can't have an inline 3 replace an inline 4. But on the straight, it does lack power, and you hit the rev limiter a lot earlier than you would probably hit on an inline 4. That is something which you expect this bike to do because it looks like the R1. It's a cold day today. The tires were doing amazing. Bridgestone tires were really nice on this. At least I didn't fall. And because the track is majorly left-handed, The right side looks a little bit underused like this. This bike offers you a lot of fun, and most people, including me, can't use the full potential of it. It does look fantastic. A couple of people told me it looks like the new R3, and I won't blame them, or the R7. The engine is bulletproof. If you want a bike which can do everything, you can tour, you can go on the track, and of course do city. This is the bike you can get for 23,000 Australian dollars. If this was launched in India, this should be, I think, around 13 lakhs, 13, 14 lakhs. And that would be a killer price point, especially if this is even semi-knocked on or CKD or whatever. Question is if I would buy the R9 over any leader class motorcycle. I don't think so. I just want that insane power, although I can't use it, but I just want it.